Hi,
Hey guys.
welcome to Quirky Girl Narratives, and this is episode 2 of the American Gods series.
Okay,
So, in
let's get
episode
into
2, we see Nancy basically encourages the slaves to revolt on the slave ship. We see Billiquis is still using Tinder to get followers, but she seems a bit sad and like it's not as fulfilling as she thought it would be. We also see Billiquis take a trip to the museum where she gets a glimpse into her old life through the jewelry that used to belong to her when she was a queen and like one of the most powerful goddesses. After that, we see Shadow. He's escaped from being hung. Someone obviously rescued him, and he's in the hospital getting treated, and then he meets up with Wednesday at the hotel and tells him that he's upset and like what's going on. What have you gotten me into? Wednesday kind of calms him down. I don't really know how, like just by using his words and like kind of manipulating him. And he convinces Shadow to head on the road with him to the next destination they're going to on the way to Chicago. So Shadow and Wednesday take a little stop and want to buy groceries and food. And Shadow decides to go to the department store to get food, and he meets a new god called Media. And she's in the form of I Love Lucy, and he sees her on the TV screen, and he's like in awe of her. She tries to convince him to join the new gods and abandon the old gods like Mr. Wednesday. And she also apologizes for how Technical Boy beat him up. He says no, he's not joining that team. He'd rather stick with Wednesday and be loyal to him. And he decides to head off with Wednesday to Chicago, where Mr. Wednesday tells him that they're trying to get his hammer. When we get to Chicago, we see that his hammer is basically one of the old gods called Chernobog. And he lives with a group of sisters called the Zoraya sisters. They are all the Slavic gods, and they're old gods, and they don't have as much belief in them as they did back when they were in the old country. So basically, Mr. Wednesday tries to convince them to join the battle, and he tells, obviously Chernobog is adamant that he doesn't want to join the battle. He doesn't want to be involved with any kind of war. And ultimately, Chernobog comes up with a solution that if Shadow and him will do this chess match, and if Shadow loses, he'll go with him and Wednesday to fight the war. But if Shadow wins, he'll go with him on the battle to fight the war. But if Shadow loses, he gets to kill Shadow. Yeah, there you go. So, also, ultimately, Shadow loses, and then we don't know what's going to happen next. Okay, let's get into the questions. So, why does Anansi look modern and in his appearance like he's wearing a suit when he's speaking to the slaves on the slave ship, and when the one slave who's speaking Igbo is praying to him? Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if a lot of you guys know, but Anansi is a part of the Ghanaian culture. So in the Ghanaian culture, I spoke to my mom and my uncle. I'm getting a book delivered to me on him. Anansi is not a god in our culture. He is sort of like a trickster spirit. So he's like a story, like almost like a cautionary tale that you tell your kids, like Red Riding Hood. And so in the show, when they sort of made him into a god, I know it, like, we actually went on some of the Facebook pages and stuff like that, and it kind of pissed off some people, and then for others, they sort of understood, because there are a lot of gods that we had, and I guess they didn't dive into it too much, because before we were introduced to Christianity, there were multiple different gods that we had, so that sucks, but Nancy is a Ghanaian god, so the fact that they're speaking Igbo to him, which is a Nigerian dialect, is kind of question mark. It's a little weird, but I kind of understand that we would see it from maybe someone speaking Igbo to him. That person is Nigerian, but there might be other Ghanaian, there might be Togo people on the ship as well. Yeah, there could be people from different areas on that boat, and we just got like the translation from the Nigerian person, which I guess is understandable. But yeah, just to get things clear, he's a Ghanaian. So yeah. And he's a trickster spirit.
Exactly. So
not a god.
Yeah, not a god. Second question is, what was the purpose of Billiquis? Why did she seem so sad? And why does she want, when she goes to the museum and she sees a glimpse of herself, her old life, and the statue of her and everything?
Well, I know we were talking and we said that it's sort of like, you know, when sometimes you're a little reminiscent or your parents are reminiscent, you go home and you open up your photo book and you look through your album and you see pictures of yourself when you were a kid. Well, the old gods don't have those things. So the only way they get that is when they, you know, go to like a history book and flip through it, or if they walk through a museum and they see themselves. So she was just reminiscing the past and the.
Yeah, so how can you compare like the deities in Greek Roman tradition and like Shadow and Wednesday's relationship?
So there's like this connection between divinity and humanity, and that divinity is very like we will never understand it. It's something above us, and it's sort of like Shadow going on this journey with Wednesday. He literally doesn't know what's gonna happen. He doesn't know if Wednesday's a good. He doesn't even know who Wednesday is, let alone what Wednesday wants to do and where their car is going to take them. And it's actually, if you see them driving on the road, it's sort of like a metaphor for what Shadow's literally going through and what we're all going through watching the show, because we literally don't know what's going on. Just like when Shadow's driving on the road, there is no destination, there is no picture or something in front of the road that says, oh, we're going to that building. It's literally an open field with a dirt road and they're driving on it. It's not even established. So it's literally like that, in that we don't understand how the gods are, and you can kind of see that in how the Greek gods were. And in the beginning they were kind of like Gaia and like the sky and like
rocks.
Yeah, and they were just like these, yeah, they were just like objects, and then we would say, oh, that's mother, oh, that's this, oh, that's that. And then after them came the Titans, who were more like what humans thought of how the gods were in the beginning. So they didn't really have a love for humans, and humans could be like disposed of, and they were large, like physically large. And then after the Titans comes like the gods, who are more understanding, who are more compassionate to humans, and who are more like they have specific emotions. So like there's one god and he's anger, there's one god and it's love, there's one god and it's desire and lust, there's one god and it's this. And like they have flaws, which is something new that humans weren't able to pick at gods before. So like you have like Zeus, who's like a hoe.
Yeah.
But he's also like, he loves humans so much, he loves them more than anyone. So these gods, like, they become more human and more like us. They become closer to humanity, which I think like the show kind of has that like binary between the relationships, and you see that in Shadow and Wednesday.
Exactly. Okay, and for Shadow, okay, what does the chess game actually signify in the dualism of the chess game that Shadow is playing against Chernobog?
Oh yeah.
So I think that since Chernobog is a dualistic god from the Slavic culture, like Slavic religious beliefs, so the whole chessboard actually represents dualism, like good versus evil, and then Shadow versus Chernobog, and Shadow is obviously seen as the good one. But also, dualism doesn't always have to be about simply good and evil. Sometimes it's just two aspects of a different personality. Like Chernobog is, if you research him and the other Slavic gods, a lot of them are dualistic. So they have different aspects to their personality. A light side, which is his brother Bernabog, and then a dark side, which is Chernobog. And they're both the same person, but they just have different sides to their personality. You need like the light in order to have the darkness. You need the good in order to have the bad. So they're necessary to keep like the world in balance. And when there's no balance, like when one of them gets killed, like the whole world is like in chaos. So they're always constantly chasing each other. Unlike, I guess you could compare it to like Christianity or other Abrahamic religions, where it's like good always have to triumph over evil. In dualistic religions, I guess you'd call them pagan, it's like they're always, you need both sides to continue life and like, you know, everything, afterlife as well. So that's where it represents. And even if you look at the Zoraya sisters, they're dualistic as well, because there were female gods who were dualistic in Slavic cultures. So Neil Gaiman, the writer of American Gods, he basically based the Zoraya sisters after these dualistic goddesses that are found in the same pantheon as Chernobog. But he just made them three sisters because three is kind of like a more conventional number that we see in fantasy. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
And I think it's also representative of like the last question that we just answered, which is like you're talking about dualism in reference to like humanity and divinity.
Yeah,
and how like
one.
Exactly.
With like
exactly, yeah.
Father, Son, Holy Ghost. It's the same idea in pagan religions,
yeah.
But like obviously have different meanings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also like God and like human.
Exactly.
And like Shadow and Wednesday.
Shadow, like, Wednesday, yeah. Dualistic as well. Yep, so
this is our summary for episode 2. And stay